rightly utilized, we have to build the capacity of the community in a big way. We have to take them along so that their children are sent to the schools and they become a part and parcel of the implementation of the universalization of primary education. School preparedness, I said that the dropout is one of the biggest challenge in the primary education. This is why when we see our children, before going to class 1, they do nursery, they do KG1, they do KGB, they do prep. But these children from the far-flung areas, they go and join class 1. They don't know. They see these class 1 book very, very difficult. And this is one of the reasons that they get out. Somehow the ICDS program that we are having, the preschool education component, is not working very well in many of the states. And this lack of school preparedness of preschooling is causing a lot of problem, and it contributing in a big way as far as the dropout from the class 1 is concerned. And everybody must be aware that the dropout rate in primary education in class 1 is the highest. The next study should be that our school should be very, very equipped. Until unless our schools are very, very equipped, then, we cannot attract these children to be there. Now, there are many schools which are so very well placed. Children want to go there, but if we see our own schools, they have not come to those standards. We'll be having proper seating space for them. We should be having the proper teaching learning equipments for these children. We should be having sufficient number of qualified teachers in these schools, should be having sufficient number of separate toilets for boys and girls, drinking water facilities, playground and playing material. This is our strategy to put these things in these schools so that these schools can be made equipped, they can be made more attractive to the children so the children can go there and study in the proper way. Then there is activity-based learning. Then they say that we want to teach a child about the Taj Mahal. You can show him a textbook. You can show him a model, or you can take him to the Taj Mahal and show how the Taj Mahal looks like. So it has to be activity-based learning, and we have the evidence-based models in which the activity-based learning has proved a lot. Has given a lot of value to the primary education, and which has attracted a lot of children to the school. Then the children entitlement. We have to provide midday meal. There is again evidence that the midday meal has attracted many children to these schools. The uniform is again one that has to be an entitlement for the children. RT again says about this. Free textbook to the children. The learning material, they have to be provided to the children so that they come to the primary schools. Then, as I talked about in the previous slide, in the challenges, that the socio-economic condition is also a very big factor in these children not going to school, the family prohibiting them to go to schools. And if we see what type of financial, besides this entitlement, what type of financial assistance we provide to the primary education, it is almost non-existing. So we have to broaden the base of these stipends and scholarship in the primary. Maybe it may be very meager, but as a strategy, we have to provide these stipend and scholarship even to the children of the primary classes, so that the parents find it a bit enthusiastic about sending their children to the school. Inclusive education has to be another strategy. And inclusive education, when I say, it is not about only the disabled children being sent to the schools. It's about the social inclusion also. All the children, the deprived children, in the deprived urban children, the children from the weaker section, the children from the disadvantaged group, they have to be brought out. We have to put a mechanism in place by which all these children have to be brought into these schools and provided good and quality primary education. Tracking absentees. I said the dropout rate is very, very high. So as a strategy in my state, we have put a tracking mechanism in the state, in which if a child is found absent for a day, it is marked. If a child is found absent for second day, again it is marked. And if if the child is found, the same child is found absent third day also, it is red alert, and we have put a mechanism in place with the help of the community, that is, child is tracked from within the village and brought to the schools. It has to be community-based. The ICT-based tracking has failed. I don't have any doubt about it. We have to take the community along so that they can bring their child, and it has to be 3 days, 4 days, or 5 days, because after that child disappears and he goes where nobody knows. So the child has to be, we cannot wait for months together to complete our data that we enroll in the month of March, and then we say in September, that how many children are in these schools. They have to be tracked concurrently in these schools. They have to be brought back to these schools. This has to be a strategy so that we can fulfill our aim of the universalization of primary education. Then the residential education. We have to invest on residential education. There is no way out. There are many children who cannot come to schools, who cannot sustain their study. I mean, now these schools access is very good, but then still they cannot come to schools and sustain. So we have to provide residential education in a big way so that these children can be put in place, can be given their entitlements, and can be provided good quality education. And then we have to see that there is a smooth transition from elementary to secondary education. Even if you see after the implementation of a decade of SSA, the access, particularly the access part in the country, as far as the primary education, has improved a lot. That is one thing that we have achieved. But if you see it in the secondary education, it is not there. Let's say, example of my state I can give. We have about more than 40,000 primary schools in the state, but there are hardly 1,300 secondary schools. How the children passing from 40,000 primary schools will get accommodation in 1,500 odd secondary schools? So I think, again, when the RMSA will be coming, it will take care of the access in the secondary sector also, and that is where we'll be enhancing the GER or the NER of the secondary education also, which is also very, very vital in the entire school education. And the last point is compliance of the RT provisions. Everybody must be aware that RT is a document. It is a document on the entitlement of the children, on the rights of children, and the quality of the education. It says everything that the school should have, all the norms and standards, right from the space that the student will be needing, right from the number of teachers, their qualification, the entitlement of children, and what they will be having, what they should have in the school. So there is no way but to comply the RT provisions, whatever, all the RT provisions in total in the state, so that we can bring all the children of 6 to 14 years to our schools and provide them excellent quality primary education. And that will go a long way in fulfilling our dream of universalization of primary education. Thank you.